Hello, lovely to have the chance to catch up with everybody. Just a few updates. First of all, I want to just let everybody know that there are a number of scam sites pretending to be me and trying to sell you things, get you involved in crypto, or send money up front. I don't do that. I'll never do that. All the key players literally have fake sites by scamsters made up. And unfortunately, a number of CC members have fallen for it, parted with a lot of money. I will never, ever go to anyone and say, I'm selling crypto or I'm doing this or I'm doing that. So please, be really aware that there are a number of people pretending to be me, and obviously other speakers, but you've really got to just don't get taken in by it. I will never approach anybody and ask for money like that. It's just wouldn't happen. So I'm really sorry that people have fallen for it, and why these people don't get a decent job, do a job that helps the community, why they want to steal. This is in fact stealing. They're fraudulently doing this. So that's the first thing. Just a warning. Don't use social media to try and sell crypto or anything else like that. So watch out on Telegram or YouTube or any of the social media sites. It just isn't me. I won't do it. All right, that's that. So let's talk about, first of all, the RV. And there are an awful lot of commentators out there who are saying, my lips are sealed, I can't speak, I'll get in trouble. And I think that's a cover for they don't know anything. I think it's very easy to say, I can't talk to you, I can't tell you anything, because I'm going to get in trouble or this, that, and the other. That's a really good fallback position if you don't know anything. This is really handy, isn't it? Well, the truth of the matter is that if you are a serious player in what's taking place, you wouldn't actually go out and really start talking about any detail about the RV. You just wouldn't, because you would be putting your own position financially in harm's way. And if you represent an organization or anything, you're putting them in harm's way. And frankly, it's probably best not to take to the boards, as they say, the theatre boards. But so many people like the limelight, they like the spotlight, and it's very easy to say, well, I've been told to be quiet, or I've been told to shut up and not say anything. I think there are a number of people actually who have been told to be quiet, but not because they have anything worthwhile to say, but because the nonsense that they're coming out with is upsetting some of the large, I think in parlance it's called whales, some of the large file holders who get these reports from what commentators are saying. And it destabilizes them. So I know for a fact that a number of people have been told to be quiet, not because their information is valuable, quite the opposite. Their information is so off the wall that it's actually upsetting the serious people who are the clients of the process that's undertaking, and who have great deal of assets. And it's concerning them when they hear some of these things that are being said. So I think a number of people are being told to be quiet, but I think there's also a lot of people who are just literally just saying it because it's such a get out, a cop out, a get out clause. What I will say is that the way that the RV is processing is completely different from what was written 10, 15, 20 years ago. You see, everybody who takes an interest in the RV will, to a lesser or greater extent, have a knowledge of the foundation of this, and they will have some immutable facts. And those immutable facts are that the Iraqi dinar will revalue, that it will be put in the Iraqi Gazette, that the Iraqi central bank will do this, and then it will go through the mosques, and then it will do that, and then it will go on the exchange, and then ultimately it will go to one. And that was written many, many years ago. And everyone who isn't really in the know, that might upset people, but if you're not really in the know, that's what you think is going to happen. And I can say this now because I think the penny's beginning to drop, that if that happens, everybody's going to know the RV has taken place. So it's lost its complete cloak of secrecy. And the White Hats, at this stage of the operation, have no intention of telling anybody who doesn't need to know what's going on. The talk in the halls, shall we say, the halls of power is, well, why do people need to know? You only need to know if you are a file holder. It might be a Chinese elder. It might be someone who has large numbers of assets. And you need to know. But what you need to know is what's the procedure for you, how you're contacted, how your resources are moved, etc., etc. For people who are not involved in that, you don't need to know. That's the thinking of it, So what happened a long time ago was that this roadmap was created, always with the intention that they would never follow it. So they had people who would create this in good faith. They worked it all out, blood, sweat, and tears, many hours into it. But the top brass had no intention of following it. Because as soon as Iraq revalues, as soon as it goes into the Gazette, as soon as the Iraqi parliament passes the budget, and as soon as it's enacted and it goes through the mosque, and then it goes on to the exchange, everybody who's interested, there's over 1 million people in the United States who are colloquially called Tier 4B, the internet group, who immediately will say, well, the RV's started, Masara Jasara, it started, all the bad people will know it, etc., etc. And so there's no intention of doing that. No intention of notifying people in that fashion. And also there's I think it's the 24th, I can't be sure. It's of so little importance that I don't remember the date properly. It's the grouping of the BRICS countries are going to come together and do a news conference. That's purely political. It's purely political. It's not, nothing's going to happen after it. There isn't going to be the great RV. It's purely a political get-together of people in the BRICS to put up a strong case for why other countries formally need to come in and join them. It's not going to be a magic wand, suddenly this happens. Anything in the public eye, particularly covered by the mainstream media at the moment, is not going to be a make or break deal. It's just not. So this meeting is just a political meeting that allows Putin, Modi, and the others to get together and really work with Africa. That's the key here. It's about Africa, because Africans have just about had enough of their resources being stolen and taken from them. And BRICS offers a ladder. So this isn't really about Deutsche Bank or Europe or Britain or America. It's just literally about Africa being invited and involved in. Also, perhaps some of what we would call the old communist states like Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, these countries that are no longer part of the Russian Federation, but aren't sitting very comfortably with the European Union either. So there's an interesting movement there. So that's of no importance in terms of the procedure, the structure. It is a meeting where ideas can be shared, solidarity gained, and basically a pitch put out to other countries to formally join. The RV also won't go in the way people are expecting. People talk about German bonds quite a lot. They talk about other assets, and again in the piece of paper that was written 25 years ago, although it was more recently redone, again, that roadmap was laid out. That's not what's happening. That roadmap is not going to be followed because it's just a dead giveaway for where the process is. It's like in Britain on a motorway, you have countdown markers. My day, it was yards, but now it's meters. So 300, 200, 100, you might as well just stick countdown markers out to tell people when the RV is. And, it is a secret operation. It's a military operation. And that is, it's on target, but nobody is being given the right date. And everyone that commentators I've read what they've done, they've gone down the wrong corridor, which is exactly the intention of the people who are managing this process. So they'll be very pleased with the way that every commentator that I've seen has got the wrong end of the stick. So I'll be extremely pleased with that. There's also an operation out there to pass disinformation, saying that the whole of the world is under a military operation, not a country by country military lockdown, but a worldwide lockdown. Nobody bothered to give that information to me because they know that I wouldn't put my name to it. There are a number of commentators saying that the whole world is now locked down because there's this worldwide, whatever that is, military intervention. But forgive me, I think you can still get on an airplane in Australia and fly to London or what have you. So whatever this military lockdown is, it was no different from last week or the week before that. So I'm not pushing that. I'm not giving it any credence. Give the military their due. They didn't even bother feeding me that one because they knew what would happen. Absolutely on record as saying that I won't push disinformation for any reason. There are a lot of people out there who believe they're doing good work. They are given disinformation and told, look, it's a total lie, but do us a favor, please put it out there because it helps us. And there are people who will do that, and that's up to them. And there are other people who are told it and just told this is going to happen. It's really important, get it out there. And they'll do it. But the reality is that, none of that sits with me. The stock exchange, according to all of the pundits, is going to collapse. And they've been saying that for months, if not years. The truth is that the stock exchange has been in a slow implosion ever since Trump left office. And that was the design. They had no intention of crashing the stock exchange. The intention was to remove certain companies, weaken certain companies, reduce the profits, and squeeze the deep state over a period of years, so that there has been a crash, but it's been so gentle and so slow that it doesn't appear to be a crash. The next one is all the banks are going to fail, all the banks are going to close, you'll have no money, etc. Again, I can't see that happening. We've already seen a number of big high-profile banks close, but they closed because they couldn't be gold-backed. They simply closed because they didn't have the assets to back up all of their calls on their resources. And the good guys have helped those banks they can work with. So where a bank was short, the good guys have moved literally gold to that bank, so that when they were audited for Basel III, they passed it. But where a bank, for whatever reason, was deemed to be not a bank that they wanted to work with, they didn't receive that assistance. And when they were audited, they felt short, and so they had to close, or more likely other banks come in and take them over, banks that are approved, banks that have the resources. So yes, there is a banking movement. It's not a banking crash. It's a banking movement that is taking out the obviously difficult players and seeing who can be worked with, who can move into the new game, shall we say. In terms of the EBS, I've always, the last 2 years, said that I'm quite happy to accept that a city might have an EBS, or a small town, or part of a city. But, the EBS is not going to say, the military are taking over, stay indoors. What the EBS will say is, there's a gas leak in this postcode or zip code area. Please stay in, and if you are on your way home, please get home within 2 hours. They're not going to tell anybody the real reason for any sort of shutdown. And so again, I have to ask, why is this continual push from certain people saying that there's going to be 10 days of darkness, there's going to be a banking collapse, there's going to be a stock market crash, all of this? What is the advantage of that? And when you work it out, then these people are only acting on information they've been given. Some of them know that it's not real, and some accept it in good faith. And people are being played with, the good side and the bad side, for legitimate propaganda position. It's just that I won't play that game. I will not play that game. I will only alert people to what I know is real. And so that's, from my perspective, it's great, because it cuts out all the BS. They don't bother giving me the BS. They won't do it because it doesn't pay them. They give me stuff. I'm not going to put it out. So they're only giving me stuff that's real. And actually, I think that's a very good position to be in. So the RV is fine. There's no issues. Everything is on track. And I don't have any concerns or any worries whatsoever with it. And it is pointless, people speculating sort of from day to day, who have no knowledge, no background. They're not, they're not getting the connections. And 9 times out of 10, actually, what it is someone that's a bondholder who is forwarding information to these people. But of course, what they don't realize is the bondholder is not getting the full story anyway. Quite often, the bondholder is being fed false information, particularly if they know that bondholder is connecting with X, Y, or Z. They will deliberately feed that individual incorrect information. Then they watch it out on social media and they trace it back. So they'll give, say, 3 people 3 different pieces of information, give it a couple of days, see where that's gone, trace it back, and they know who's spreading what and when. Not so much because they want to trap people, but because they want to see what the network is. How does the network of intel work out? So, it's hysteria. It's verging on hysteria. I mean, I did mention to people that, somewhere they were saying on the 10th of this month through that a key player was going to be removed from office. And, it's just ludicrous. It's nonsensical. Anyone who's going to be removed will be removed quietly without anybody knowing about it until such time as, it comes to remove Biden. And that will be done through a well understood democratic process. Biden is not going to be removed in a way that you would expect with an African country or with a South American country. America is not the home of democracy, but it represents a pillar of democracy, and there's no way the White Hats are going to remove anybody in a way that's not perceived to be democratic. So again, be very cautious of people who are telling you this, that, and the other. There's big naval exercises taking place. That is just America, nothing to do with Biden. It's the American military exercising its authority. It's not anything to frighten Russia. It is just literally time that the United States Navy took to the oceans and projected its power across the globe, as it's always done. So again, we mustn't read into that. You're highly unlikely to instigate a military situation in main America if you've got 24,000 Marines out of the country, out of the area. It just wouldn't do it. So, we should take a fact that large numbers of American military on exercise off mainland United States probably means that nothing on the military side is going to happen, because the Marines are the go-to guys in this particular instance. So that's that. Are children still being released from underground bases? Sadly, yes. They're still being released. I wish that it was all over and done, but that operation is still ongoing. And, I don't think that it will end anytime soon, simply because there are just so many of these damned places. And of course, new ones do spring up. Talk about container ships, talk about tunnels, talk about just general aircraft, just talk about all of the ways that smuggling of people and children can occur. It is a huge challenge. What I would say on the positive note is that the large underground bases have now all been dealt with, bar maybe one or two. And now it's the small subsidiary operations that are being looked at. President Trump is an incredible guy, because he keeps a straight face. What I mean by that is that, when you are playing a role that you is theatre, it's sometimes quite, you quite want to, laugh or smile. But of course, to do so would break the whole facade. It would just make it fall down. And the reality is that the story that's being pushed out is not for the likes of my listeners. It's for the likes of people who don't listen, for the people who love the BBC and believe everything that mainstream tells them. And so the whole narrative is aimed at these people, because they're the ones who need convincing. And in many ways, and it's not the first time I've said this, it seems very unfair on us, because we're the ones that saw the truth very quickly. We're the ones that stood up for the truth. We're the ones that made that sovereign decision. And yet everything is being played out for these other guys, and it's simply that they're the majority. That's why if you're in a room of 100 people and 5 of you know the truth, well, what's the point in the military? Just keep talking to the 5 while the 95 wander around the room, getting worse and worse. So what happens is that the messages are aimed at the 95, and the other 5 people sort of sitting around like this saying, well, what's all this about? We're being pushed out. That's it. This is a vast majority of people who are being gently educated over months and years to the truth, because there was no way the military were going to go out and put Trump back, because that's not what happens in America. It's not what happens in a so-called democracy. And it's just as much to do with the perception of America by outside influences as to do with the way that the American citizen would view any return of Trump on the top of a tank. So all of this is being done in a way that the ordinary person can say, oh yeah, I see why that happened. And for many of us, it's months, years out of our life. But there isn't very much we can do about it, because we don't make that influence. But it is just incredibly frustrating to be looking at it and thinking, quote, people say to me, how much longer does this go on for? I mean, why can't it end? It's just awful. It is. It is awful. I wish it ended months, years ago. But this is what we've got. So what are we going to do? Are we going to give up or just be like an ostrich and bury our head in the sand? No, we can't do that. So we have to say that we know at some point this is all going to end, and end in a way that might not be the great grandstand that so many people want, the blowing of a bugle and the raising of a flag. But if it gets the good guys into position and it removes the bad guys, then that surely is what it's about. And never again can the bad people ever take position that they've had for so long. And that's why, it's taking this length of time, simply because it's not because there's more evil in the world than they thought, or it's worse than they thought. And that would be to belittle the White Hats. The White Hats knew, by and large, exactly what they were dealing with years ago. For heaven's sake, they had Twin Towers, they had the president assassinated, etc., etc. So they knew what they were dealing with. That's just sort of an excuse given to say to people, well, it's taking so long because we didn't know how deep the swamp was. That's just a lie. The reality is, it's the speed at which the ordinary person can be moved to the new paradigm. And unfortunately, and you know as well as I do, so many of these people are almost intransigent. They just won't move, or they do move and it's incredibly painful and incredibly slow. And all of this is designed for them. So no, it's not more, the swamp isn't worse than it was 5 years ago, was believed to be. It was always known, because they had psychologists, they had just about every expert under the sun working on task groups, saying how long it would take to move certain cultures from one paradigm to another. So the military ran those through all the computers, and they came up with not just a time frame, but a plan for each country, and what would have to happen to bring the vast majority of those people at least to some sort of position that, would accept the truth of the situation around them. And that's what makes it so difficult. And so, from my perspective, no pushing of fake intel, no Trump's coming back tomorrow, or this is happening and that's happening. So that does far more harm than good. Maybe some of these intel pages are doing it deliberately to show everybody just how nonsensical they are. So, you might read on one page that the redemption centers will give you an NDA and you have 20 minutes for your appointment. And, then this happens and that happens, and you take $1,000 and all this, and your trillion Zim note will be worth $1 trillion United States dollars. And then it says the next point, Marilyn Monroe is coming back. Well, maybe what they're trying to do is to say to people, it's all nonsense. Because how could you believe what you want to believe, which is, I want to believe about the redemption centers. I want to believe about that. I want to believe that my Zim notes are going to be worth this. But I won't believe the bit about Marilyn Monroe coming back, or Elvis is going to come back and do a fantastic conference. But I think that what's happening is that whoever's running some of these intel boards are gently trying to alert people that, look, just take it with a pinch of salt. The point is that there is some truth in these intel boards. But if we believe that the White Hats control the intel on social media, and that must be the case, why would they want to give away valuable information that would alert the bad boys? It doesn't make sense. So, please don't go through this roller coaster. I mean, that's how I describe it. Monday to Wednesday roller coaster, and then things haven't happened by Wednesday. You know that you're on the downward part for Thursday, Friday. Nothing happens over the weekend, of course. And then back up on Monday and Tuesday, and it's all going to happen. It's all going to happen. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. And I've seen the Brunsons. I think Kerry Cassidy did a show, and they look really great people. But look how the intel is playing it out. Every few minutes, it's like the Supreme Court is going to make a ruling. Why would you do this to people? Why would you keep doing it? I mean, it's not how it works. It isn't how it works. And so, anyway, we're running up to the end now, and I just want to say that we have a lot of CC members throughout the world, and our hearts and minds are with you guys in Hawaii. you are a state of America, and the military did force Biden to declare a state of emergency so that the governor can receive extra funds from the Federal Reserve, and that's as it should be. We know that I think the Big Island didn't take as much damage as some of the other places, and we know that a lot of the history and culture of the royal elements have been perhaps lost forever. I hope that some of the important clothing and artifacts have been saved, maybe buried underground and hidden, because the Royal Kingdom of Hawaii, it's a very special place, like many indigenous communities. So we do think of you out there, and we're so sorry that's happened. Or was it an energy beam weapon? Well, reports of melted cars, and I've seen pictures of cars caught in forest fires, and they get gutted and burnt out, but they don't melt. But we have credible CC information that cars' metal has melted. The temperature required for that would be well above the sort of fire you could get in a forest inferno. So I would say that something's been going on. We're looking into it, still a bit difficult, but I'm sure we'll get some very good intel on what was used and who was behind it. So I'm just going to wrap it up. It was just an important point, I think, just to touch base with everybody, just to reassure you that it's not going to get worse. We are not going to go through some apocalyptic disaster. The White Hats do not have that planned for us. I've always said this: White Hats have children, grandchildren, husbands, wives, brothers and sisters. They have a commitment to the continuation of a decent life, just as we have. And nobody except an insane madman is going to do anything that would put us back to the Stone Age. That is just not on the cards. I suppose that's one of the few things that the Black Hats and the White Hats agree on, because both the White Hats and the Black Hats need an economy. They need a country to function. So neither end of the scale wants to destroy an economy. No matter how many times people tell you the Black Hats want to do this, they don't. Their friends are in the corporations. Their friends need people paying money, buying services, buying goods. And if you put an end to that, well, then you put an end to commerce. And so that's just not on the cards. That is not the way it's going to end. And it's something that I do hope that people can seriously look down and take a look at it. All of those coordinators in every country of the world, I thank you for what you're doing. The more crazy the energies get, the more crazy the work around you. I appreciate that. And, the day when it comes that I can pay you can't come soon enough. And, we're on target for that. But I can't tell you when, because to tell you when is to tell you when the RV starts. And, I'm not going to go to another country and use that as a sort of a code, a euphemism for, the RV has started. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to, put a coloured suit. I saw this picture on a guy with a suit, and then somebody was saying what each colour on the suit meant. For God's sake, come on. If you're serious about this, you don't waste time like that. When the RV starts, there will be a number of people who will say, right, now the real work starts. Let's start doing good work, the humanitarian projects. We can't wait. We've got thousands of humanitarian projects from CC members ready to go. We've got a large number of people who would love to be project managers. We've got people who want to work in the projects once they're funded. And it's a fantastic time to be involved, to do good work for humanity, and to be rewarded for it. And that's what CC is about. It's about putting people together, giving that support, making sure that the communications are there for you to support each other. And that's where we go with it. So no problems, no issues. I just wish it happened yesterday. It hadn't happened yesterday, and it hasn't happened today, but it will happen. And the sooner it happens, the better for all of humanity. But do not expect me to come on here and tell you what's happened. I'll leave that to other idiots who know nothing at all, but want that spotlight and want to claim the spotlight, shall we say, or the stage to tell you that the RV's happened. Well, anybody who does that clearly is not involved in the RV, because if I did that, my NDAs would be actioned. The guy who countersigns my NDA would then put an immediate operational blanket on it, and I would be removed from the program. I'm not likely to do that. I haven't spent all my life trying to create an organization for the betterment of humanity. So I'll let others do the singing from the rooftops, and then we will just quietly sit in the background while the hoo-ha takes place, and we will work together as a team, all of CC members, to take forward to the next stage. And with God's will, God's blessing, that's exactly what will happen. So thank you ever so much. Take care. Speak to you all soon. Bye-bye.